Life has a way of making you question everything you thought was certain. After 12 years together, including 4 years of marriage and an amazing 8-year-old daughter, my world started falling apart piece by piece. I guess I should start from the beginning. Back in 2019, I was going through a rough patch. Depression had hit me hard, and I was seeing a therapist regularly. During this time, I wasn't the best version of myself, distant, cold, and unable to give my wife the attention she deserved. She was 41 then, and I was 34, still trying to figure out how to balance work, family, and my mental health. One evening, while using her phone to check her daughter's school photos, I found messages that changed everything. My wife had been seeing someone else. The messages left no room for interpretation. When I confronted her about it, she went ballistic, not about the affair, but about me checking her phone. She called me dozens of times while I sat in a local park, trying to make sense of everything. Initially, she denied everything, despite the evidence being crystal clear. When she finally admitted it, she promised to cut all contact with him and work on our marriage. Like a fool, I believed her. A few weeks later, I discovered she was still in contact with him. I packed a bag, ready to stay at my parents' house. That's when she broke down, crying and getting physically sick in our bathroom. I stayed. Looking back now, I should have left then. Instead, I made things worse by marrying her in 2021, thinking it would somehow fix things. The trust was already broken, but I convinced myself it could work. For our daughter's sake, I told myself. The years that followed were a slow descent into paranoia and isolation. I checked the house weekly for any signs of suspicious activity. I never told her, but I couldn't imagine a stable future anymore. I lost touch with my friends, one by one. Work became my escape, and I ended up earning twice what she did, which later became another point of contention. When my wife brought up issues she wanted to discuss, and I asked for time to think or couldn't understand her perspective, she would sometimes block me from leaving the room or grab my clothes to make me stay. Eventually, I started agreeing to everything just to avoid conflicts. It was easier that way, or so I thought. A few months ago, I found a hidden photo in her wardrobe, her with another man. I tried to convince myself it was nothing, that I was paranoid. But deep down, I knew. When she finally told me she wanted to separate, I brought up the photo. Her response: she got angry about me invading her privacy again. Then she casually mentioned that affair was already over anyway, so it didn't matter since we were splitting up. When I asked why she stayed if everything was so bad, her answer hit me hard. She said she needed the security of our marriage, that she had fears about financial stability. All those years, I had just been a safety net. Things came to a head after my wife and daughter returned from a 3-week health retreat this September. I noticed something was different about her. She was distant, barely speaking to me. In late October, she finally told me what I had been dreading. She wanted me to move out and end our marriage. During that conversation, she listed every mistake I'd ever made. How I reacted when our first cat got sick 5 years ago. How I was unreliable with money early in our relationship. How I sometimes missed gatherings with friends. Things I could barely remember. But I had questions of my own, particularly about a widower she met at the retreat. I had noticed she visited him a few weeks after returning. She even bought birthday presents for his kids and encouraged our daughter to write them cards. When I brought this up, she denied everything, of course. But I knew. After 12 years with someone, you learn to read between the lines. She's built up a story that paints me as the villain. Since I work full-time and she works part-time, since I earn more than double what she does, somehow that makes me the bad guy. And yes, I made mistakes. I became distant. I stopped trying. But she conveniently leaves out her affairs when telling people her version. Last summer's family vacation now makes perfect sense. I tried so hard to make it special, but something fell off. Now I know why. She was constantly stepping out of the hotel to call him. There's always an empty chat thread on her phone, messages deleted, but the conversation's still there in her recent tabs. We hadn't been intimate for months this year. Then suddenly, in September, she initiated it one evening. Looking back, it probably lined up with when she ended things with her latest affair partner. I'm moving out in January. We told our daughter that mom and dad don't love each other anymore and can't be good parents while living together. When I suggested we be honest and tell her that mom fell in love with someone else, my wife refused. I worry about how this will affect our daughter, but fighting for full custody would only hurt her more. My savings are minimal, and starting over at 37 seems impossible some days. We've agreed to handle everything about our daughter fairly. At least that's what she says. We both agree we're good parents, but after everything, I find it hard to trust her words. The worst part? Deep down, I still miss the idea of having a family, even though much of it was built on lies. I catch myself longing for my wife, while simultaneously feeling disgusted, angry, and jealous. We haven't touched or kissed in over a month now, and I can't explain why that hurts so much when I know there's no going back. My rational mind understands this is for the best, but my emotions haven't caught up yet. My mood swings from hour to hour. Some moments I feel ready to start fresh, others I feel like I'm drowning. I've started seeing a new therapist. During our second session, I realized something important. I can't talk about her affairs with most people. The first one from 2019, the one that probably went on for years, and this recent one with the widower from the retreat. Even though I have proof of the latest one, she still denies it. When I talk to our mutual friends or family members, I find myself blocked, unable to mention her infidelity. It makes me angry. While I openly admit my failures in our marriage, she's out there telling everyone her version, conveniently leaving out her affairs. Only 2 people in my family know the whole truth. My therapist says this anger comes from a sense of injustice. Some learned decency stops me from telling everyone how she betrayed me, how she destroyed my ability to trust. I usually don't care what others think of me, but this feels different. One of her friends, Thea, knows about the affairs. I bet her friend justifies it by saying I pushed her to do it. To everyone else, the story is simple. I failed a marriage. I became distant. I stopped communicating. And yes, that's all true, but it's not the whole story. My wife wanted me to just disappear quietly, but also expected us to agree on everything like dividing assets and custody arrangements. She calls me a good and loving father, says we should maximize my time with our daughter. But she does nothing beyond saying these things. It was me who consulted a lawyer, me who's trying to sort out our finances, me who's looking for an affordable apartment near our current place so I can stay close to our daughter. I don't have a car or a driver's license, and after all the payments I'll face when moving out, getting one seems impossible right now. I made an appointment with our daughter's school counselor to help her through this transition. I even drafted a proposal for when and how we should tell our daughter about the separation. Living close by would mean our daughter could visit spontaneously, but I worry I'll become just a convenient babysitter when my wife wants to go out. Living further away would force us to stick to a proper schedule for visits. These are the kinds of decisions I never thought I'd have to make. Some days, I don't even recognize myself anymore. The person I was before 2019 is gone. I've become someone who checks for hidden messages and secret photos, someone who second-guesses every late night at work or sudden phone call. The worst part is, my suspicions were usually right. My daughter keeps me going. She's the one bright spot in all of this mess. She's handling it better than I expected, but I worry about the future. My wife says we'll both be better parents when we're not together anymore. Maybe she's right, but I don't trust her judgment anymore. The irony is, I still want her to improve and be happy, if only because she's our daughter's mother. But I can't shake the feeling there's more to her story, more plans she isn't sharing. Her personal coach convinced her that I'm the main problem, and that everything will be fine once there's distance between us. 5 years ago, people on an online support forum told me to leave. I didn't listen. I didn't want to face the truth, that healing wasn't possible, that my wife never really faced consequences for her actions, that it would happen again, that staying would destroy me. They were right about everything. Now here I am, starting over at 37, with no real friends left, minimal savings, and a broken trust in relationships. But at least I'm finally facing the truth. Sometimes that's all you can do, face the truth and hope tomorrow brings something better. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button to help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or story ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.